sultanas or coconut or whatever you want. You know, if you want to make raisin or sultana scones as well, or plain ones, or cheese scones, or you know. So this is the basic scone recipe. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do first, because it's taking longer. I'm going to do the treacle bread. Okay. So I have the ingredients. I have them all measured out. I'm being organized this week. Okay. So for the treacle bread, I'm using soda bread flour. Okay. I'm using buttermilk. So remember we talked about when you use soda bread flour, you can use a buttermilk. If you haven't got buttermilk that you can add a bit of lemon juice to. Okay. I'm using some raisins, I'm using raisins in this recipe, and some treacle. And I'm going to grab a wee cup here, and I just want to move all this other stuff over here. I'm going to grab a wee cup. So to get your treacle out of the tin, it's easier if you have a spoon sitting in hot water. Okay, so I'm just going to take some hot water from the kettle. And I'm just going to put my spoon in it. Okay, so it's 3 tablespoons. So I'm going to use one of these dessert spoons. Just leave it sitting in the water. Okay, just so it's hot. Okay, so in here I'm going to add some soda bread flour. So it's 16 ounces of soda bread flour. So it's a pound of soda bread flour. Okay, I'm just going to sieve it. All right. Now, soda bread flour has all the, it has the bread soda and the baking powder in it, okay? And then I'm going to add, you don't need any flour or baking powder or soda bread, okay? So it's just flour, all right? So in this jug here, I'm going to add the wet ingredients, okay? So in here, I'm going to add the treacle, and I'm going to use. So this is treacle here, okay? That's the wee tin of treacle. So dip your spoon in the hot water, okay? And then I'm going to add 3 tablespoons. So I'm going to use a heaped tablespoon, okay? So when you use a hot spoon, it'll come off the spoon easier, okay? So that's 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to add the buttermilk. There's no eggs in this recipe. It's just flour and buttermilk and treacle. All right, and fruit and some almonds. If you like almonds, flaked almonds, you can put them in as well. All right, but you don't have to put them in. All right, and then just wash your spoon. All right, so that's how easy it is to get it off your spoon. I'm just going to throw this over in the sink. All right. So the treacle will be what gives it the color. So obviously when you're using treacle, then you don't need sugar in this recipe, okay? It's sweet enough. Now it says a pint of buttermilk, okay? So we're going to whisk this together. All right. Just whisk the wet ingredients together. All right. And then, so that's just a pint. It's one of those of buttermilk, okay? Now, yeah, as I said last week, anyone that missed it, if you don't have buttermilk and you want to make soda bread, or you want to make this and you don't want to go to the shops, you can add a teaspoon of vinegar or lemon juice to the milk, whatever measurement of the milk you need, and just let it sit for about 10 minutes. It will curdle, and then that should do your your bread. All right. So make sure you give it a good mix, and you get, because the treacle's sitting at the bottom. So if you use your whisk, you get it all to stop it from sticking, and it goes into the milk, and it doesn't sit at the bottom there. So just scrape it at the bottom. All right. I'm just going to put this aside. You're going to leave this. All right. Now, in here, I have a tin. I'm going to use this size of a tin, okay? And over here, I have my butter melting. So I have some butter melted on the aga there. And I'm just going to use this for greasing your tin. So make sure you grease it really, really well, okay? I'm just using an egg brush. If you haven't got an egg brush, you can use kitchen roll, okay? You know, the heavy based kitchen roll, you can use that. Now, so this tin is a rectangle tin. Now, you can also use a 9-inch round tin as well, okay? So either will do. So this is about 4 by 8 rectangular tin, okay? So make sure you get it into the edges. Make sure you grease the whole inside. All right. I'm just going to move that over there down the road. All right. And then once the tin is done, so then I'm going to add the sultanas or the raisins in, and I'm going to mix it up. I'll make a hole in the middle. All right. Now this takes about 45 minutes in the oven. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the oven for, I think it's for 15 minutes. You cook it really hot at 200 degrees for 15 minutes, okay? And then you turn it down to 180 for the last 20-25 minutes. So altogether, I think it takes 45 minutes. Oh, I'm making a mess here. So just give it a good stir. Does anybody like treacle bread? Yeah?
I love treacle.
It's kind of...
Yes, I love it.
I like treacle scones,
yeah.
And I like treacle fudge. My mother used to make that.
Yeah. So now it's quite wet, but I just want to see. So it should be like a thick porridge, okay? So I know it says on the recipe, it'll say, I said this to you last week about adding your liquid, okay? You don't want it too thin, okay? So whenever you're making, last week we're making soda bread, and I was saying that whatever your recipe will say, you know, about, say it says a pint of milk when you're making soda bread, you might need all the milk. If it says you're making it into a dough that you need to roll out and it's getting really, really sticky, you need to stop adding the milk, okay? So you'll know that it's ready. But this here is supposed to be like porridge, so I'm just going to keep adding it, okay? So it's just supposed to be like a thick porridge, and you pour it into the tin. All right. Now, so I'm just going to pour it in now. So once your tin is all greased, pour it in then, okay? And now I have the oven on at 200 degrees, okay? So that's 190 in a fan oven, okay? And then just scrape it in, all right? And then you can sprinkle it down with your almonds on top. So I just have a few flaked almonds here. You don't have to add them if you don't want. All right, I'm just going to add a few. All right. Now I'm going to bake that for 15 minutes at 190 degrees. Right, so that's that in the oven, and then I'm just going to bring these over to the sink. Give me a second. Now I'll use this bowl again. I like using that bowl. Then you can see, everyone can see inside it. So
Joanna, there was a question there from Hillary. Is that a £2 loaf tin?
it is, yeah. Yeah, £2 loaf tin, yeah. So sometimes I'll show you this other one here. It's a smaller one. So that's nearly a 3 pound tin, and that's a 1 pound tin. So it's the one in between. Okay. So you'll see whenever I take it out the different sizes. Okay.
And Maura's asked, could you half the measure to make small ones when you're on your own?
You can, yeah, you can. Half the mixture, yeah. Because it's a pound of flour, so just a half a pound, a half a pint of buttermilk, and a 3.5 or 1.5 tablespoons of the treacle. Yeah, you can. Okay. But I think you can also, if you want to make it, you can also freeze it, and then just whenever it cools down, just stick it into wrap it up in greaseproof paper and stick it into your freezer, and it will be perfect, you know, for when you take it out again. So I'm going to show you the first scones I'm going to show you are the cherry scones. Okay, so in here I have 8 ounces of self-raising flour. Okay, and I'm using real butter in the recipe. Okay, so I have 2 ounces. Let me see. Hold on, I'm just checking. Did I measure this right? I just want to check it again because it looks like quite a lot. So it's 8 ounces, and it should be 2 ounces of butter. Okay. Yeah, I did. I put too much in. Okay, so it's 2 ounces of butter. Okay, and then
Joanna, sorry, can I interrupt you a second? I'm still at the treacle bread here. You see the flake almonds, do they actually go into the mixture or go on top of it?
oh, sorry, is that Louise, is it?
Yes, sorry, can you not see me?
Oh, I can't see it. Hold on.
Sorry,
I'll
Joanna.
see your name even. Sorry, what did you say?
I said the flaked almonds in the treacle bread, do they actually go into the mixture or do they just go on top?
I can sprinkle them on the top, Louise.
Just on top, okay, thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, grand. Is anybody else cooking along? Is everybody just watching?
I didn't even realise Louise was cooking, as she normally does, but
Yeah.
I don't see anybody else.
I love
Oh,
treacle bread.
Mary's.
Oh, Mary's cooking again. Good woman.
Yeah.
Are you using 2 bread, Mary?
You're on mute.
We're making the scones.
Oh, you're making the scones. Absolutely. Okay. You keep up with me then. I'm just going to get my son because the ring light is gone. I just want to get him to fix it for me. I don't know what's wrong with it. Joe? Ring light with it? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to get the recipe. So it's for the fruit scones, it's 8 ounces of self-raising. Now this is not soda bread flour, it's self-raising flour, okay? So on the recipe, thanks, that's better there, it's a bit brighter. On the recipe it says you can use wholemeal flour or you can use wholemeal flour mixed with self-raising flour, so half and half, okay? But I'm just using white flour, okay? And then I'm going to use a teaspoon of baking powder, okay? So just put that in as well, all right? And then I was saying, Mary was asking me what my trick was for keeping your scones fresher. So if you put a teaspoon of custard powder, if you have it, okay, bird's custard powder, just put a wee teaspoon of it in, okay? I just realized I'm using a half a teaspoon, so I'm just putting another one of these in as well, all right? And then what you do is use your hand, okay? And you're going to rub in the flour on the butter, okay? Now the trick when you're making scones is that you have to be really light and you have to handle it as little as possible, okay? So whenever you're rubbing the butter into the flour, bring your hands up like this so you're getting more air into your scones, okay? So, and you just want it to feel, if you feel it, you'll feel the butter rubbing into the flour and then it'll become like breadcrumbs when you know it's ready, okay? So some people do this and they press down on it, you know, they're taking the air out of it. So you want to keep the air in it and you want it to be nice and light. So the trick with these scones with this recipe is you don't overhandle the rest, okay? Don't overhandle the dough. And whenever the dough is made, you handle it as little as possible and you roll it out and then you cut it put it on your tray and your hot oven, and they should rise as soon as they hit the heat of the oven, okay? So I can feel that now it's gone. It's like breadcrumbs, really. So you're just getting rid of all the, you can feel the soft, the cold butter in it. You just keep rubbing, okay? And your butter has to be soft, okay? It doesn't have to be melted or anything. You just want it to be able to rub in between your fingers. If it's too hard, it'll be harder. Now, sometimes if your butter is really hard, you can grate your butter into your mix as well, but don't have it too hard, like have it kind of in between. And you can grate the butter into your scones. Some people do that as well, okay? Okay, so that's it there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some cherries, okay? So because I'm using these cherries here, I'm going to add a little bit of flour to the bowl, okay? Just a wee bit, and then I'm going to cut the cherries. So for this recipe, it's 2 ounces. So with the 8 ounces, okay? With the 8 ounces of flour and the 2 ounces of butter, whatever extra ingredient you add is 2 ounces as well, okay? So I'm doing 2 ounces of cherries, but I'm going to cut them. So I'm going to put them in here to this bowl. I'm just going to toss them in the flour, okay? And why you do that is so they don't sink to the bottom, okay? So if you tip them into a little bit of flour, it means they stay in the middle of your scone. They don't go down to the bottom, all right? So we'll just throw them in there so everybody see. Now you can add, if you want to add, the next ones I'll do the apple and cinnamon and show you how to do that. At this stage, you can add your sultanas or your fruit, if you like fruit scones, okay? Now, I'm also going to add some egg. All right, so I'm just using a large egg. Oh, sorry, I meant to say I'm also using an ounce of sugar. All right, just to give it a wee sweetness. So an ounce of sugar. All right, and then I'm going to add a large egg. And when I do the egg, I always do it in a separate bowl, okay? And the reason I do that is so I can add milk to it. All right? So you can add some milk to it. And then you can use it for, you know, whenever you're brushing your egg on the top. Somebody's asking me a question, are they? Yeah, it's caster sugar. But don't worry if you haven't got caster sugar. You can use ordinary sugar, don't worry. In the scone mix you can. All right.
Joanna, sorry, you see for the, if you haven't got the buttermilk and you're using just the ordinary milk and lemon, how much lemon do you put in?
Just squeeze half a lemon into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, half a lemon will do it. And then you have to leave it sitting, Louise, for a minute just till it curdles.
Okay.
All right. Now, so for these scones, once you have, now my oven's at 190 now, so I'm going to put them in that temperature. So I have a tray here, okay? And I'm going to just flour it. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on the tray, okay? Now, if you want to use greaseproof paper, you can, all right? But I'm just going to put a wee bit of flour on it, not too much, all right? And then I'm just going to mix this up. All right, now put a hole in the middle and slowly add your egg and your milk, okay? And then just bring it in. So you want it to be like a nice dough. And I was saying last week, and you'll probably hear me saying this all the time, when you're adding your liquids and you're making a dough, be really careful that you don't, if it tells you on the recipe, don't just add it in, okay? You have to do it slowly. Because what happens is, if your room is warm, your kitchen is hot, it depends on the time of year, and it's to do with the protein in the flour and how much liquid it can absorb, okay? So just be really careful when you're making a dough, because if you make it too sticky, then what happens is you add more flour to it, and then the consistency of the butter and the flour is all different, you know, and then it will be too crumbly, and it will turn out, you know, they won't be like your normal scone. Okay, so I'm leaving a little bit of egg at the bottom of this, and then I'm going to use a little bit more milk as well because I want to just make it into a dough that I can roll out. So just use your spoon, your wooden spoon. Okay. Now that's all coming together now into a ball, okay? So what I'm going to do now is, I've left a little bit in the bowl because I'm going to use that for egg washing, okay? So I have a wee brush that we'll use for the egg wash, okay? Now I have a bowl of flour beside me as well, and I'm going to put some flour on to your counter and bring your dough out into a ball, okay? Just leave that sitting there. Now gently with your hands, you don't have to knead it, okay? All you do is roll it in the flour, okay? Use your hand, okay, like that, and push it down with the back of your hand. You get about 5 or 6 scones out of this. All right, now I leave it quite thick, so from my thumb, from the top of my nail, which is not very long on my thumb, to the middle of, you know, the joint in my, that's how thick I'm leaving it, okay? So that's all you need. And I'm using one of these cutters, so that's probably 2.5-inch cutter, 3-inch cutter. Okay, so just flatten it a wee bit. Now don't overhandle it. And then just cut into it, okay? And put them on your tray. How are you getting on, Mary? The light's gone again. So I'm just putting, as soon as I cut them, okay? Yeah? Where do you get your cutter? I have, where did I get that cutter? You can get them in Tesco's or Asda, I think. Now I have these a long time. You can order them online on Amazon.
I notice Home Bargains do a lot of baking stuff now.
Yeah. So you can get different kind of ones, like different, you know, like Love Hearth ones, or you know, like animal cutters, or you can get different ones, but I always use these ones for the scones. Okay, so just roll it out, and that's it there. I'm not even going to bother. Okay, so, and then what I do then is I just brush the top of it. All right, so just brush it with the egg that you have left in your bowl. Okay, and then just brush it on. All right. Now I'm going to put these in the oven now. I'll put these in and get them. So whenever you put them on your tray, when you put them on your tray, make sure you spread them out. You don't want them sticking together, so always leave a big space in between. Okay. So I got 6 out of that 8-ounce mix, and I'm going to stick them in the oven now. All right. I'm just going to wash my hands here.
I just want to remind everybody this here is going to be up on our YouTube video or YouTube channel. So everybody that's here tonight will get the link tomorrow when I'll upload the video after this. So everybody will be able to watch this again in case you want to cook along later.
Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to show you again, it's very similar. It's just how you make apple and cinnamon. Okay. Now, when the scones are ready, I will show you what I do, you know, to decorate them and make look a bit fancy. Now, I didn't bother washing the bowl because it's going to be the same, more or less the same ingredients. Okay. So now just turn the oven down to about 185 degrees, okay? Because the bread is in it as well. You don't want the bread to be to burn. Okay. So for this recipe, it's the same. 8 ounces of flour. Okay. Sorry, I meant to say I already sieved this flour. Okay. So if you want to sieve it, you can. Okay. So 8 ounces of flour. Sorry, what am I doing? Butter. I'm putting in the butter. So 2 ounces of butter. Okay. Now you can use margarine if you want, but I just think it's better if you use butter. I just think it gives it a better texture. I'm going to add another teaspoon of this. My good old custard powder. Okay, secret recipe.
Joanna, how long more does that preserve your scones for?
You get a couple of days out of them, Pamela.
Right.
Yeah, you get a couple of days. Oh, sorry, I meant to put in that. And then the baking powder. Yeah, it just, because sometimes when you make scones, as so who was saying there about their scones? It was Mary. Yeah, Mary, you were saying about your scones not lasting the next day. But the thing is, if you make scones, if you put them in the oven the next day, freshen them up, you can do that as well. You know, it turns out okay. So so the same thing, we're just going to rub the butter into the flour, okay? Now this is apple. I'm going to make apple and cinnamon scones here. And I use 1 apple and a teaspoon of cinnamon, okay? So you can add 2 ounces of coconut. Do you want to make coconut scones? 2 ounces of sultanas. Somebody's asked the question. And the reason I'm putting in the custard powder is it keeps your scones fresher for longer. Okay, it's a secret tip. My friends, mum and dad, they worked as like food scientists, and they told us that trick. So it does work. It keeps your scones softer and fresher for longer. All right.
Joanna, what type of an apple are you using? Are you using a Granny Smith or a Brownie or cooked apple?
Golden Delicious, just an ordinary Golden Delicious apple. Okay.
Right.
Now I'm going to put an ounce of sugar in as well. All right, just going to weigh it out here. My ring light's gone off again. I don't know why. It done that last night on me as well. But anyway, so I'm just putting in the sugar. All right. Now I'm just going to wash my hands. Give me a second. And then I'm going to use a wee sharp knife here. And I'm just going to peel this. Just going to peel this apple. Now the bread, I can see the bread at the moment, it's rising. It's risen up really well. So with the apple, I just peel the skin, okay? And then I'm just going to chop it up really finely and put it into the bowl. And I just add like a teaspoon of cinnamon just to give it a wee nice sweet flavour. Mary, can I ask what scones you're making?
We've split the mixture in 2 and we're doing apple and cinnamon and plain ones.
Brilliant. Lovely. Can't wait to see them. So I'm just chopping up the apple quite small, okay? Just into little tiny size bite pieces. Okay, just watch you don't have any the core or anything in it like I've just done. Just take that out. And then just slice it down in 3, each quarter down in 3, and then dice it really well, okay? All right, and then I'm going to add that in. And then I'm going to add some of this, a teaspoon of cinnamon, okay? Well, that's cinnamon sticks, sorry. Did I find my cinnamon? There we go. So just a teaspoon of cinnamon, okay? That's all you need. Now I need another egg for this, so I'm going to add another large egg into this one here. All right. And then just use your fork as well and just give it a good beat and add a bit more milk to it. All right. Now my scones have come up. I'm just looking at the oven. They've come up nice and big. All right. So give that a good mix. Give that a good mix like that. Okay, and then put a hole in the middle. All right. And then same thing, make the dough. Do it really slowly. Don't add all the milk, as I said. And leave a little bit of egg in the bottom of the bowl, okay? For brushing them. And I'm just using sweet milk, ordinary milk, okay? Because it's self-raising flour. I know some people make, so does anybody make scones with soda bread and use buttermilk? Yeah? Well, whenever you make them, they kind of are a lot softer. You know, the top of them will all be softer. These scones are nice and crunchy. That's why I like this recipe. They come out nice and crunchy. And I love crunchy.
I prefer scones to be a bit crunchy.
Yeah, so do I. You can't beat them, sure you can't.
Yep.
So I'm gonna add, yeah.
Sorry, Joanna. I've only got skim milk left. Can I put skim milk in it? Would it be okay?
I should be okay. Yeah, should be okay.
I used the rest of the semi-skimmed, but I put the lemon juice in. I thought I needed buttermilk for this, but I don't do it.
No, okay. Just use semi or skim milk will do. Oh, okay.
You're right. Okay, thank you.
All right. And then do the same. Now this dough is a little bit darker because of the cinnamon. Okay. And then scrape your bowl out. Now, if your dough, this one is actually a little bit too wet, so I'm going to add a little bit more flour, but not too much flour, okay? So just shake it on, okay? Now, some people make, this is how their scones end up like being that size and being really hard and like biscuits, okay? So when you get your dough, very, very gently with your hands, barely touching it, okay? Just flatten it out. That's all you do, okay? Flatten it out, and as I said, to the thickness from your thumb, the tip of your thumb to your to the halfway down your thumb. That should be the thickness of it, okay? And another trick when you're doing your scone, when you're cutting your scones, a lot of people push down and twist and do all this with their cutter. The trick is push down and lift it. And if your dough is a little bit sticky, which this one is a little bit sticky, you can dip it into the flour, okay? And then all you do then is push it down, lift it up, okay? And if you want to keep dipping it in the flour, and what I do, I normally cut out all the scones and then I take off the surplus. You know, some people do their scones and then they roll up if you keep handling and mishandling all the dough, then it's still, your scones are going to be like hard. So if you can just cut out as much as you can and then just take all that and barely touch your scones, okay? And then just leave them over there. And then just do the same with the rest. And whenever you get the leftovers, just barely touch it and flatten it, okay? And try and do them all the same size. Okay? Yeah. So I got 7 out of this mix. Don't ask me how. It's the same cutter. So there we go. Do you know why? Because they're a little bit thinner actually. They're not as thick as the other ones, that's why. So we'll do a little baby one. Now I'm just going to grab another tray here, this over here. Give me a second. Sorry, something moving trays up. I'm just going to put some flour like I did on the other one. Okay, find the bowl. Here it is. So just sprinkle away. You don't need too much flour, okay? And then just spread them out on the tray. Now, if you had been doing like double the recipe, I could have fit them all on the other tray. All right, but I just wanted to show you 2 different types. Then just brush them, okay? Now some people like to put a bit of a sprinkle of sugar now after they do this, so they can be really crunchy then, you know. So you can do that as well. You can put, like, I'm going to do that with a couple of them. Just put a wee bit of sugar across the top of them. All right, so whenever they come out, they're nice and crunchy. All right, I'll do it to them all. Right, so that's that done. All right, so I'm just going to check this treacle bread here a second. Yeah. So the treacle bread is looking very nice now, I have to say. It's rising up really well in the tin. So has anybody got any questions for me?
I think there might be a couple in the chat there.
Okay. I'll have a look now.
Yeah.
Just want to clean this up in case I lean over it. Just give me a second. Now, I'll just put this down. Let me see. There's quite a few in the chat actually. I'll sit down for a minute and I'll answer them. Let me see. So Mary said her granddad loves it. Well, that's good. So you have somebody to try out all your scones. That's what I used to do when I was your age. I used to make everybody eat all my, and I'm glad that they're all turning out okay and your granddad's getting to enjoy it. I don't think my granddad got to enjoy it because I didn't have someone to show me. But I had my granny, like when I was at home. My mummy wasn't a very good chef, so she left to my own devices. So it's a tin, yeah, it's a 2 pound loaf tin, yeah. But you have to measure, yeah, you can have to measure and just do one of the treacle breads if you want. Yeah. Where do you get your cutters from? So yeah, if you want, I bought a set of these. I'll show you. Maybe have a few more in here. There's loads of ones on Amazon and that you can buy, like different ones, like love heart ones, and you know, there's all different shapes of cutters you can buy. But you normally can buy scone cutters in Home Bargains or any of them shops, you know. And the Home Bargains is very good, isn't it?
They seem to be everywhere now. That, you know, that TV show Bake Off became popular. Baking stuff was everywhere, I think. So Home Bargains or cheap shops, you know, you can still get them.
Yeah, you'll pay a fortune for them because, you know, I bought them years ago and I still have them, you know.
I got some years and years ago. I think it was called Woolworths at that time. It's the pound shop. The pound
shop.
Yeah. I got a sort of a basket, not a basket, like a tub of them, all different shapes and sizes and all the rest. You know, like heart shapes and I don't know what, all different ones. I'd need to go and look, but I'll not bother at the minute. But you get them there too for something very little.
Yeah, I don't think you have to pay too much for them, you know.
Oh, they're very cheap, you know.
Yeah.
Joanna, how much sultanas did you use in your treacle bread?
I think it was 5 ounces, Mary. We'd like check. Yeah, I think it was 5 ounces.
You see,
5 ounces of sultanas, yeah.
It's not a bit of wonder my stuff turns out funny because, as my daughter says, I measure nothing unless it's a Christmas cake. I throw in.
You're on mute, Mary.
Unmute yourself, Mary.
These things.
That's you back.
But no, I throw in a handful of this and a wee lock of something else and that carry on. And she says to me, then you'll be wondering why things are hard or tough or something like that. But, and you see, I throw in all the milk at the one time when I'm making my scones. I think that's it. And I take at them like as if I was making a bucket of concrete.
Do you just hope for the best, Mary?
I hope I'm hurrying and they're thrown into the oven and I must take a gentle bacon bowl and wonder what's happened to me because I'll be going so gently now. I'll have to take it a wee bit gentlier and not be
Yeah.
having like I'd be
Yeah,
looking at it.
don't add all the milk just because it says in the recipe, you know.
Yeah,
So just
and
add it slowly. So
yeah,
you just want a dough, but it's not too wet. Okay, you need to be able to. If
yeah,
your dough is too wet, you won't be able to cut it. Okay, so it needs to be a nice dry dough and nice and light. Okay,
yeah.
and lightness is the trick. You have to keep the air. You know the way we were doing with the
Yeah.
butter and the flour. You know, Mary,
And
and you're getting the air into it.
I use a sort of a fairly broad knife, a broad blade knife, rather than the wooden spoon. I go in round it
Yeah.
like mad like that, you know. But
Yeah. I'll try it with the wooden spoon and try to be a bit more gentler. Yeah.
I'll take my time. I'll have
Not know what happened.
I know. Another thing too, Joanne, but I think it's not my fault like at all. It never is. But it's the fault of the oven. But sometimes
Sorry, Mary, my mother's beeping for a second. Just give me a
you're all
second.
right.
Just hold on, Mary. You can ask her in a minute.
Right, that's all right. I'm in such a hurry to get all this information.
The breads were lovely last week, weren't they? That
Gorgeous.
I know.
Joanne done, yeah.
Now,
But all looks so simple.
Oh,
that's
Oh,
That looks great.
that looks gorgeous, Joanne.
Now, I'm just going to check it, Mary, okay?
Yeah,
Now, it's still a bit wet, so I'm going to put it back in, okay?
yeah.
I'm going to put it back in for a few more minutes.
They're all right. That's fine.
Hold on, I'll have to move this again.
They're okay.
Now, I'll just leave it in for another few minutes. Because once you stick the knife in it and the knife is coming out sticky, then it's still not ready, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
I know I said on that recipe, it was 200 degrees for 15 minutes and then 180 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. So I set it for 20 minutes. So I'll give it another 5. It should be ready.
Yeah. No,
All right.
sometimes my scones are like Humpty Dumpty. They're not level, you know what I mean? One side's up and the other side's down. But
Yeah.
is that my oven or is that me?
I always think they're nicer when you see scones. You know, if you go to a coffee shop and the scones are huge at one side, I always think they're lovely and
Well,
crunchy.
that's what I tell our ones. They're unique. You could never get two the same, you see. So
I think they're lovely, but to eat.
well, I don't know if you eat them right away, but if you waited, Paula, you'd need a chisel and a hammer to get them. But then there's one other question I was going to ask you, Joanne. I have forgotten.
Go ahead.
Sometimes I would, but I know this is wrong, but I think it cooks bread. I would put a cross in the middle of my treacle bread. You know,
Yeah.
maybe it's like a prayer that it'll turn out all right. But I put a cross in it, you know. But then mine must be too. You couldn't put a cross in yours because it would have been very thin. If you know.
Yeah, but your treacle bread must be like the dough, Mary.
Well, I don't know what it's like, but anyway, Joanne, it's a
If it's like a dough, Mary, then you can put it, but I couldn't have put that because it was like thick porridge.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
Well, I'm going to try that in the future. The thick porridge.
It's a wetter mix, Mary.
Yeah.
Joe, you have your hands full there.
Yep.
Yeah, indeed.
That's your granddaughter.
She loves this virtual screen and she disappears.
Oh yeah.
Very good. All these Zoom backgrounds.
Yeah.
I'm just whipping up some cream now for the scones, okay?
Lovely.
Please ask me a question. Sorry, I'll just go and finish the chat and see if there are any more questions. Let me see, hold on. Oh yeah, the link is on, the link will be on the YouTube channel. And the cutters can be used for shortbread. Yeah, they can, yeah. Can you send me a slice? So it's not milk and sugar. Was that for the scones, yeah? So yeah. Now I'm whipping up some cream here to go on the scones, okay? So Just while I'm waiting on them to come out. So that's the beeper again. Give me a sec. Well, and cherry scones have come out. You see them? How thick they are?
Oh, gorgeous. Lovely.
They've come out nice and thick. Okay. So I'm just going to stick them on. So they're crunchy on the top and they're soft in the middle.
Good.
Okay.
Joanna, sorry. Can you hear me?
Gorgeous.
Sorry,
Joanna,
Louise.
did you put the scones in the same oven that you have the treacle bread in?
I did, right. So what I did was I cooked the treacle bread for 15 minutes at 200 degrees and then I turned it down to about 185.
Yeah, but the scones, it says they're 200 degrees. Is it okay?
Yeah. That's a fan oven, so usually about 190. You can do them at 200, you know, with because I had the oven for the treacle bread.
It's okay then. Right.
They've
I'll
cooked
stick
up.
them in. Okay, I'll get mine in then.
So I'll just show you how thick. Can you see how thick they are?
They look gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've risen a little bit. So I'm going to let them cool down, and I'm going to just do some whipped cream here. I'm going to show you how to make them nice and fancy, and you can make them for Mother's Day, for Sunday. You can have afternoon tea on Mother's Day.
Yeah. Do it on Saturday and sample it, Case.
Joanna, I can ask you one more question.
Yeah.
I put raspberries in my scones, so I wanted to do some white chocolate. Do I just wait till they're cooked and then just melt it?
Yeah. Melt the white chocolate. Melt your white chocolate whenever they're cold. Just let them cool down and melt white chocolate in the microwave, and then drizzle it over it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Okay.
Do you use frozen raspberries or fresh raspberries?
No, I use fresh ones. Is that okay?
Yeah. Did you add them in whenever I added in the apple?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the next time you're making them, if you're using, because raspberries are quite, they're soft, you know, whenever you add the milk and you make the dough, just before you make it into a dough, I would add them at the end, because what happens is if you're mixing them, they break up and they won't be in lumps. You want them to be nice and, you know, big chunks.
Oh yeah, and I mix the flour and everything together, and then I put them in before I put the milk in and the egg.
Yeah, but yeah.
So what do you mean?
The next time you're making them, add them at the end. You know, just fold them in at the end. Just as the dough is coming together, throw them in at the end.
Okay. All right. I see
Then you
now.
have nice big lumps, you know, of raspberries.
Okay.
That's just because sometimes, especially if you use frozen raspberries, when you put them in and you mix it, then they just separate, and you'll just see little flecks of raspberry, and you won't get the chunk, you know.
Okay. Thank you.
And you can put Louise, you can put chunks of white chocolate in as well. If you chop it up into little tiny chunks, you can put it in as well. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Will it not melt, Joanne?
Sorry?
With the white chocolate, if you put in chunks like that, would it not melt in the oven?
Yeah, well, if you leave it a little bit chunky, it'll be, you know, when you put chocolate chips into a muffin and you'll still get a wee kind of a bite from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you leave it like a nice kind of little bite size.
Good, yeah.
So I'm just using a little bit of whipped cream here just for to decorate, and I'm going to put some strawberries in them as well, just to show you have like strawberry cream tea.
Ooh,
And then you'll be
lovely.
able to make your own at the weekend. Or maybe you could treat somebody. I'll have to make my own and say nobody be treating me to scone. So the cream's nicely whipped, okay? So I'm just going to throw this over and give you a minute. right? So I have a couple of just little strawberries here. Use this here. So I'm just gonna cut these off. So I'm just gonna put them into slices, okay? I've already washed these. I'm just gonna slice them down into circles like that, okay? And I'll just put them into a wee bowl. Put them back in here. All right, so now I don't know whether some people like jam and cream, and some people like butter and jam or butter and cream with their scones. So I just want to see, can I find my little piping bag? I had it out last night. I don't know what the wind did with it. I had like a nice little blue piping bag that I had, but I can't find it now. Missing in action. No, it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to let
The
it down.
debate, Joanne, is
Sorry?
the debate is where to put your jam or your cream on first.
See, that's the argument. Some people like to put butter and jam and cream.
Yeah, that's what I do, and that's the order I do it in.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was watching a couple of those programs about Cornwall and Devon, and that's the whole debate there.
That's right,
One
yeah.
does and what was the other.
With the cream tea.
Yeah.
How could you spread jam on top of cream? It just wouldn't be possible.
Surprising, Paula, what you could do. You wanted it.
Well, you see, I think it makes more sense to do the butter, jam, and then cream.
So whenever you do it, you're going to use this. Put your jam into a little bowl and give it a good stir, okay? And it's easier for spreading whenever you're going to put it onto your scones. It's a lot easier for spreading. I'm just going to check the cinnamon scones now. Give me a second. Yeah, they're still cooking. They're not ready yet. So I'll show you the wee. So I'll just get a nice wee plate here. A second. So you get your scone, okay, and put it down the middle. So they're nice and soft inside, okay? They're nice and soft. Now mine's still a little bit hot, but I'll just show you one or two anyway. So I'm going to put jam. You can put jam on both sides. It doesn't matter, okay? And then what I do then is put in some strawberries, okay? So when you're doing your strawberries, put them in so they're sticking out at the side, okay? Like that, okay? So you put 3 on it. I'm doing it on the top. Hold on. I'll do them on the bottom. So just get your strawberries and then hang them out over the edge, all right? Spoonful of cream, all right? And then spread it out. So whenever you put your topping on, that you can see the cream. All right. Now, if you want to be fancy and use your piping bag, you can. All right. Then put your lid on. All right. Everybody see that?
Oh my goodness.
Then I have some ice and sugar here. Okay. So I always use. I'll do another one actually, because then they'll be fighting over these here tonight. So a wee bit of jam, a wee bit of. I'll just spread it out. Use the back of your spoon. All right, so it's easier if you see that you put your jam in the bowl and mix it, because if you try and take it out of the jar, it'll cut the scone, it'll pull the scone apart, so it's easier to spread, you know. So if you do that, then put your strawberries on the bottom, slices of strawberries, okay? And then put your fresh cream, all right? Your fresh cream out and just spread it out so it comes out to the side, all right? And then put your top on it, all right? Now, because they're still a little bit hot, they're kind of a little bit crumbly, And then what you do then, to make them really fancy, is get some ice and sugar, okay? And then just sprinkle your ice and sugar on the top like that. All right?
Lovely.
So that's your cherry scones.
Yeah, Joanne, whenever
Yeah.
when you put icing sugar on anything
Beautiful.
like that, after a while, does it not turn into like, does it not like melt almost or whatever?
No, if you're, as long as it's cold, as long as your scones are cold, it should stay okay.
Maybe that's it.
Because you're going to eat them like really fresh,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't put ice and sugar and cream on them now. If you're going to keep them for tomorrow, I would just do it as you're eating them, you know, as you need them.
Yeah.
And then them scones will keep in a wee box for a couple of days, you know.
Thank you. That's great.
I'm just going to get the cinnamon bread out now. So the treacle bread is nearly ready. So I'm just going to check it again. So just put a knife in the middle, okay? And hold it for a few minutes. It's come out clean, okay? There's no stickiness on it. So, and treacle bread is a little bit sticky anyway. So there's just like a stickiness off the knife, but it's cooked. There's no, you know, there's no dough on it, okay? So that's that there. And then just to take it out of the tin, just go around the side of the tin with your knife, okay? And then we'll just tip it out onto the board here. Okay, and that's it. Because I greased the tin really well, okay, it came out no bother.
You don't let it cool in the tin, Joanne? No, obviously.
No, I didn't bother. I just wanted to take it out. You can, if you want, leave it in it for a few minutes to cool, but I just wanted to take it out to show you.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so that's treacle bread there. Can you see it?
Looks great.
Lovely.
I put almonds on it at the top, so the almonds didn't sink in. They're just at the top, just for a bit of decoration. Somebody was asking a question there. Go to make scones in the morning. Okay, thanks, Hilary. Has anybody else got any more questions? Let me see, Louise, how are you getting on?
Joanna, I just took the treacle bread out and I put a knife in it and it's very sticky in the middle, so I've just put it back in for about another 6 minutes or so.
Back in, yeah. Back in, yeah.
Will I turn it up a little bit, Joanna?
What temperature is your oven?
I had it at 180 because I put the scones in, but the scones don't look as if they're, you know, too brown yet either. Because I put them in about 10 minutes, you know, towards the end of the treacle bread.
Turn it up, Mary, for about 190. Or Louise,
Okay.
turn up to 190, yeah.
For how long do you think?
Put it back in. For
Okay.
you put yours in after mine, you see, so yours would still have another 5 minutes or
Okay.
7 minutes, let's say.
Okay.
Mary, how are you getting on? Oh, look at them, they look delicious. Well done. Brilliant.
Thank you.
How many did you make?
We got 11.
Oh, did you? Oh, brilliant. Well done.
Small ones. 11 small ones.
11 small ones. Brilliant. Well done. I hope your granda enjoys them.
Yeah.
So, has anyone else got any more questions, or does anybody else want to ask me anything? Please
Sorry, Joanne, you said about if you had only ordinary plain flour. Like,
Yeah.
You know, not how much baking powder did you say? Was it 1 teaspoonful, a level teaspoonful to 8 ounces of flour? Is that it?
Yeah, that should be enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Only
fine.
have plain flour.
That's fine. That's
Just
fine.
want to take these scones out here now. That's ready. These ones are a little bit darker, okay? But they have the cinnamon in them, so these are a little bit darker. You see them?
Oh, of course.
Look delicious.
Yeah, and they've come up really well. They've come up nice, and I'm just going to move these scones up. So, because now, if you notice, these ones were, the dough was a little bit wetter because I must have added too much liquid. So what happens when they're too wet is that they don't rise, okay? So they're not the full, like these ones were perfect, you know, see the way they've risen up? You see that? These ones are a little bit flatter because I added too much liquid. So that's what happens when you add too much liquid, okay?
That's it, yeah.
But I'm sure they'll taste just as good, will they?
It'll taste okay. It's just you won't have that. When you go to cut them, then they'll kind of break on you, you know?
Yeah.
So you want them to be thick. You want them to be that size of these ones. So whenever you cut them, then you get your both sides of the scones, you know?
Yeah.
I say scones, and I'd say a lot of you probably say scones.
Yes.
Yeah.
I say scones.
I say scones too.
No, I say scones. Everyone's teaching scones about that.
People from the south say scones.
The south says scones, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, they're scones for us, yeah.
I think they don't know how to talk right, some of them. Joanna, as well, you're not easy offended. I'm only joking.
You mean what to say? What to say?
She said, just don't talk properly. Because you say scone.
Yeah. No, I think it sounds awful posh, but one of my daughter-in-laws talks about scones, but she's good at making them as opposed to me, so I don't bring up the subject very often. So I don't be talking about them. She's a
You're
brilliant.
talking about your rock cakes, Mary? Is that what she's saying?
Well, rock, it's right. Rocky
Rock
buns.
cake.
I'm a rocky buns. And the sad part of it all is, Joanne, I throw out nothing. I'm not one to waste. So everything that's not edible by everybody else, I eat it. So that's why I'm the shape I'm in. This is it. But anyway.
Oh, you're all right, Mary.
And I'm still looking more. This is why I've been so annoyed with myself if I miss your program or forget. Or if somebody comes in, I feel like telling them to go home. Only with lockdown, there's not that many calls.
Joanna, what's up next week then?
Yeah.
Next week, I think we're doing because next week is Patrick's Day on the Wednesday. So next week we're doing an apple tart and shortbread.
Oh, lovely.
Are you open on Wednesday? Are you working on Wednesday? You are.
No, I'm not. No, I'm taking Wednesday off.
I'm all muddled up already. I'm forgetting. It's not Wednesday weird.
Mary, it'll be next Tuesday night as usual, so you'll get your link.
Get me apple tart sorted, hopefully.
Then you have no excuse. So maybe some of you will cook along with because it'll be eaten on Paddy's Day, Patrick's Day, and it'll be a good excuse to get bacon.
I know. Yeah. I haven't eaten before Patrick's Day if I made it the night before.
Thanks very much, Joanna, for that session.
Thank you, Joanna.
End it there. You can see it all on our YouTube channel, Nerwin YouTube, or we'll send you out the link tomorrow. See you next Tuesday then.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Joanna, thank you so much.
Bye.